Hello and welcome to the Reflection Show. My name is Martha Anabila. Today I want to look at nutrition in children. I remember when I was a kid, I was told that when I eat chicken or egg, I'll become a thief. So I wasn't given chicken, I wasn't given eggs, I wasn't given something that would have built myself or my nutrients or to build me up. Maybe that's why I'm still struggling to add some weight. But anyways, that's by the way. Today I want to look at how parents or how mothers can make sure that their children eat well, eat the right meals at the right time so that they don't become malnourished. We need our children to stay strong. We need our children to stay healthy. I have been joined here in my studio by Mrs. or let me say Madam Blessila Na Foye Kando. I hope I got the name correct. She's a public health nutritionist and also the youth advocacy and campaigns coordinator at NORSAC here in Tamale in the northern region. She'll be helping us understand how we can make sure that our children are eating well and they are not malnourished at all. Let's go for a break. When we are back, we delve into the discussion. Do stay tuned.
Yele. Praise the Lord. Whoa. Yeah. Are you ready? Okay.
Like a rainbow, so my life made colorful. If you don't know, a life with this man is beautiful. Sing to the glory of God.
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 It's He I know. Everywhere I go, it's He I see. Anything I do, it's He I go.
Thank you for staying with us. A very big thank you to Vipex Beauty Salon and to Northern Community Eye Hospital. You can locate them on the Sanargu Road just before you get to the education office on your left. They help you to take care of your eyes. Is it glaucoma? Is it cataract? Anything you want, eye glasses, just get in touch with them and they'll give you nothing but the best eye care services. And also to Savannah International Academy, thank you for supporting the show. If you are looking for the best school to give your ward or your child, get in touch with Savannah International Academy. Check on our screens for their contact details. So we delve straight into the discussion. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a great pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, let's look at children nutrition. First of all, what is nutrition?
Okay, so when we talk about nutrition, you can see it in two ways.
Okay.
It is the science of studying food and nutrients,
Okay.
and then how they impact on our body. And we can also see it as the process in which when we consume food, the food that we eat, the nutrients that are found in these foods we consume are utilized by our body for our bodily functions. So when we talk about our bodily functions, we talk about our daily movements, all the activities that we do, including learning, walking, washing, cooking. In fact, every activity you do is something that you need nutrients to be able to provide you with the energy and every other action that you need to do it. And so nutrition encompasses all this to provide you the nutrients in the right quantities and also in the quality that you need.
Okay. So why is this so important in children? Why do we have to pay extra attention in giving our children the right nutrients?
So the truth is that nutrition is important in all aspects of life and at every stage of life, and particularly important in childhood because the kind of nutrition that you have in your childhood can actually affect the kind of life that you have as a young adult or even as an old adult. And so we have something we call nutrition throughout the life cycle, where in that it basically explains how your nutrition at one point of your life cycle has an effect on the other part. So say a young lady, right now, the kind of food I'll eat or the nutrition I'll have, and the kind of healthy being that I have, will have an impact on the kind of, say, children I'm going to have.
Okay.
Yes. So while the child is a fetus in my
Oh.
stomach, my nutrition affects that fetus. It grows to become a child, and then it affects his or her nutrition at that point,
Okay.
which continues to affect the nutrition as you are going into childhood, into adulthood.
Okay.
If it becomes a girl and then she becomes a mother, then the cycle continues.
Wow.
So whatever we eat at every stage of our lives actually builds upon our growth at every level.
Okay.
And so nutrition is very important, and also in childhood, because that is where we have a lot of rapid growth happening. When you look at our growth pattern in terms of our height, you realize that children develop our height patterns during childhood.
Yeah.
When you go to a point, you can't go tall
Right,
again.
yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
And then we develop a lot of our organs at that stage. So some of our bodily organs actually stop developing at a particular point in time. So where they have gotten to, that is just it.
They can't add
So
up.
if they are not well developed or they haven't gotten to their optimum, it actually affects you throughout your life cycle. And that's the reason why we try to pay so much attention to nutrition in childhood. Although you can still pay attention to your nutrition in adulthood. But there are some instances where certain things cannot be corrected, like I mentioned in terms of the organ.
Yeah.
One of the things is stunting. We have something we call stunting, where we have children being short for their age. Because per standards, we have a particular age estimate
yeah.
for your height.
Height.
So say you are 5 years, you should be within a particular
Height.
range. But if you do not get the right nutrition, you wouldn't fall between this range, and you might be below. And once you cross a particular age, say 5 years and above, you can't correct that. So no matter the amount of nutrition you invest, you won't even still be able to correct that.
Wow.
And that is why we pay key attention to nutrition in childhood.
So what are some of the important foods that we are supposed to make sure that our children are eating?
So basically, the same nutrients we are supposed to take, we are supposed to ensure our children take. We need a lot of proteins in our diet. We need a lot of vegetables and fruits. Then we need some amount of grains and cereals, the carbohydrate groups. So that's where we have the tubers, the grains, the cereals, the rice, the yams, which should not outweigh the vegetables and the fruits.
Okay.
And then we still need some amount of fat, which is also good for our diet. But we should always focus on the healthy fats.
Okay.
So say some of the nuts and the seeds that we have, like granules, cashews, sesame seeds, and all that, they provide us with healthy fats. And then those are the ones we should be focusing on. We need some amount of fiber, which we can get in some of the foods that we eat, and the fruits and vegetables. And of course, we need water as well.
You mentioned water. I just saw a myth this afternoon when I was going through someone's status about this 8 cups of water. I learned someone just said it without any medical facts. But of course, we do understand that water is a very essential part for that. Now, let's look at our setting. Maybe for people who are watching and might not really have so much to spend, not necessarily eating rich. Let's look at some of the common food that we have. We can cut across the northern sector, the southern sector, some of the common food that we can give to our children to make them stay healthy.
So before I even just touch on that, I think it's a misconception that a lot of people have. When we talk about nutrition, then we are trying to look beyond what we have.
Yeah.
But we can actually get very good nutrition looking at the locally available foods that are around us and make use of them. And it is always advisable to make use of foods that are in season. So for instance, you come to the northern region, say, and we have a lot of green leafy vegetables.
Bra,
we have,
ayoyo,
yes, we have
alefu.
ayoyo, bra, alefu. If you don't have contomere, you can actually use alefu to prepare
Yeah.
palava sauce.
Yeah.
You can actually use it to prepare soup. You can add it to granite soup and
Yeah.
all that. And so it's just about being able to understand that these locally available foods are very nutritious, and then we know how to use them. And so I do see that a lot of times in terms of outreaches that health workers, they try to organize cooking demonstrations so that the community people can see how to utilize the foods that we have to be able to make nutritious food. In the northern region here, we have tubers, yam tubers. We may not have a lot of plantain, But we do have seasons where we have sweet potato,
Yeah.
especially the orange fleshed one,
Yeah.
which is highly nutritious.
Okay.
But you go to communities where people are not consuming it because of the color, because people have misconceptions about
Okay.
it because of the
Colour.
color it has. But it's highly nutritious,
Wow.
and that color actually provides us with a nutrient called carotene, which is found in carrots. That gives it that color, which is very good for sight and then for other bodily
Oh.
functions. And this is something that can be processed into flour, so that you have sweet potato flour, which can be
Oh,
used to
I've
make
never heard of
porridge.
that. Yeah.
You can actually add it to your corn flour when you are preparing TZ. And
Okay.
it will give you the extra nutrient that sweet
Okay.
potato has. You can use it just like they use other flour to make pastries, like bread, like donuts,
Yeah,
and all
meat
those
pies
things.
and the
It's just something that we don't have a lot of information about, and that is something that is really available
Yeah.
here. When it's in season, especially when you go towards Upper East, you'll find a lot of potatoes there, and sometimes they are wasted. When you come here, we have our green leafy vegetables that can be used to make soup all the time, so you don't have to eat one soup every day. It doesn't have to always be TZ
Yeah.
and dry okra. It can be ayoyo,
Yeah.
it can be bra. You know, sometimes we are so used to the one-way diet, and that is actually what is really affecting us, and not the unavailability of nutritious foods. We have baobab, we have pumpkin, we have our dawa dawa,
Oh.
which is very nutritious and contains a lot of protein. And yet we are putting it away and putting a lot of Maggi in our food.
You know, I hear people saying that even though we call it the local Maggi, but you know, I think maybe we have to be innovative and think about a better way of trying to store
Yeah.
brand dawa dawa, because sometimes even keeping it in your kitchen for a long time without even covering it, it gives your kitchen some kind of smell.
Yes,
So I think
yes.
that is why people are not really, but that shouldn't be a reason if you really want to eat very well. Now let's look at some of the food that we are giving to our children that we think that, you know, these days we feel that if we buy our kids some kind of food, we love them.
Yeah.
So let's just look at some of the food that I am being very careful of the
Yeah,
words
not to
I
mention
use.
some-
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but that we think that could be junk, that we think that we need to either stop or
Or we need to
reduce.
cut back
Yes.
on.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So top of my list would be a lot of these processed foods that we have around. Most
Yeah.
of them are full of sugars and carbohydrates, and even carbohydrates when processed end up as glucose and as sugars, which just becomes extra sugar and then processed into fat into our body. So processed foods, sugary foods, soda drinks and fizzy drinks, foods that contain a lot of oil, a lot of salt, a lot of fat. These are foods that we need to really cut back. We should avoid as much as possible, but if not, we should cut back in our children's diets.
Let's look at the food we give to them to go to school. Sometimes we're actually so much in a hurry
Yeah,
in
it's
the morning,
challenging.
very challenging. You have to go to work and have to. Can we find the way of to balance maybe the weekends or the holidays that they are available? Is there a way that we can learn how to give them some of these foods?
Yeah. As you mentioned, it can be challenging sometimes, and sometimes it's not even about the time. I've had parents say that you prepare, for instance, a natural drink, fruit drink, and then you give it to your child, and by the time it's time to eat it, it's fermented or it's going bad. And so these are some of the challenges. But as much as possible, when the kids are at home, say in the morning, before they leave for school, a lot of kids take breakfast. So you try and balance the kind of foods they have. You give them healthy meals. You ensure that they try to take fruits and vegetables in their meals as much as possible. When they come home from school, say a healthy snack in the form of a fruit, say apple, banana, pawpaw, guava, depending on the fruits that are available or in season. And then in the evening, you try to give them a lot of balanced foods with vegetables and then fruits as well. And over the weekends as well. So sometimes we can do this within the time they are at home. I mean, most of the time, a lot of them just take snack or lunch at school. But they take breakfast at home, they take supper at home, and over the weekend they are at home. And sometimes it's about how we also consume them at home, because children learn by doing.
Yeah.
So when we as adults and as parents, we make it a habit to eat fruits and vegetables, our children will learn from us and then they will eat it. But if we are not eating it, it becomes very difficult to tell our children to like it or to eat it. And that is one of the actual challenges we have. I try as much as possible to get my children to eat fruits. There are fruits I don't like, say pawpaw. I don't know why. Since I was born, I can't take pawpaw.
Yeah.
But I consciously buy pawpaw for my kids, and then I slice it for them to eat. And so I can even slice them into a snack pack for my kids to take to school.
It can be blended.
Yes, you can blend it, with banana or alone for your child to take it. And then they get used to it. They start taking. When they are home and then they want to take a snack, you can offer them a fruit.
Okay.
You can offer them banana or apple instead of going for a pack of drink or something like that.
These days, these different color drinks
Right.
on the market, you don't even know the one you should buy. Everybody starts producing anything. I remember in one of our episodes, I spoke to people from the FDA, and they were like, they are also, it's becoming challenging because if they don't try to even authorize it, then it means we have a lot of them which are illegal in the market. So they are trying their best to see. So now, are there some health conditions in children that maybe when I see that in my child, I should be careful about the kind of food I give them?
Yes, definitely. Even at all levels, and particularly in children, there are some health conditions that might not want you to eat certain foods or to rather eat certain foods. And so it's always advisable to talk to a nutritionist or a dietitian so that they will usually coach you depending on your child's needs. Because even within the specific conditions, there are certain underlying issues that each child may have that will determine the kind of food that will be good for your child or not. And so the best thing to do is to always seek the services of a nutritionist or a dietitian so that he or she can engage you to be able to identify the needs of your child, the condition. They will assess your child to be able to advise you on the right foods that your child should eat or should avoid.
Okay. You mentioned dietitian. I want us to look at the difference or the similarities because we hear that a lot, a dietitian, a nutritionist, and something like, hey, now who is who? But before we get into that, let's go for a break. We'll be right back.
Books by Pastor A.L. Fant. They are inspired by the Holy Spirit, simple to comprehend, relevant in application, and so lovely to read. Grab copies like Dynamics of Kingdom Influence, Dynamics of Ministry, Mark is King for Church Workers, Money Matters, and she calls herself a woman. This marriage must work. No more curses. Loaded mouth. Secrets of Kingdom Dominion. The exploits of service. Things fall apart. Church without bleeding pulpit. Singles mingle and many more.
Welcome back. We are still looking at nutrition in children. If you've watched our previous episodes, we focused a bit on nutrition in pregnancy or just after pregnancy, what and what you should do. Now we are looking at after the child is born, the child is growing up to the teenage stage, what and what should the child know and what and what should the child do. Let's look at dietitian and nutritionist. What are the differences?
So there are a lot of similarities between a nutritionist and a dietitian. The fact is that both the nutrition and the dietitian are looking at the nutrition. They understand the study nutrition and the nutrients and the effects it has on the body to be able to advise and help people. But then the dietitian is a little bit limited to the clinical aspect. So you would find a dietitian mostly in the hospital setting, in a facility, who is specialized to guide people within that setting. So you go to a hospital and you have a male ward, you probably have a dietitian there. You go to the hypertensive unit, you have someone there who is clinically trained to understand the conditions there and the nutrition there to be able to guide people to make right choices and to improve their nutrition and their health. Whereas nutrition is a little bit more broad for a nutritionist. So nutritionists are looking beyond just the clinical or individual, but also looking at populations, groups. And that's where we have public health nutritionists, where you know that public health deals with populations and like a whole community or a whole setting. And so we have people who also study that. And so we have nutritionists being able to also work in the clinical setting, say a hospital, but can also work in the field. Say Ghana Health Service at the district level, in the community, and they can work with non-governmental organizations in that regard. Not to say that a dietitian may not be able to work there, in that, but
they are more like relatable, yes, more like clinical. Clinical, yes.
The clinical
okay, side. But you are also, I mean, both of you are actually looking at for the right food that people eat and how to guide them to eat. Okay, so dietitians might be able to say that, okay, for example, I'm trying to remember some of the questions the home econs people answered at school, and it will be like maybe a 30-year-old woman is suffering from, let's say, hypertension or suffering from malnutrition on this and this condition. So prepare a 3-course meal to help them, or what? It's a dietitian who can really do that.
Yes.
How about the nutritionist? You can also do that
as well, because the kind of training that we have gives us the opportunity to be able to attend to individuals, beyond individuals, to groups, and even to populations. So we are looking at public health issues as well. And so that's why you find us looking at issues like malnutrition in communities, stunted growth, and all other issues. Dietitians can do this as well. So it's a bit of here and there, but there are some differences somewhere.
Okay, so your major similarities are when I am pregnant or I have a child, I can either see a dietitian, I can either see a nutritionist to guide me on what and what that I have to eat, right? Yeah. Let's look at the role of the father, especially, because it's like food is always left to the mother to decide on what to eat. From choosing a family planning method, you have to go alone. When you are pregnant, you alone is going. You are going to antenatal. When it's labor, it's you alone, and it becomes so stressful for the mothers. Now let's look at how the fathers can play a role after the child is born, 2, 3 years, 5 years growing up. What can the father do to support the child?
The father or the man can actually make it a point to be involved at every stage, not just even after the child is born, but whilst the woman is pregnant. So you see that now a lot of advocacy is around men being involved in pregnancy, going for antenatal with your wife, because at that point, then they will give her advice on what she should eat. And you know how pregnancy is. The woman doesn't even have the appetite, but then with the man's support, he will help her to be able to eat the healthy food that she needs, because of herself and also for the baby. Now, when the child is born, it is the duty of the father to support the woman. Even during pregnancy and breastfeeding, she needs the support of the husband, even the psychological support, to be able to have that peace of mind, to be less stressed, for the breast milk to be able to flow well, for her to eat well and relax. They can even help with some of the work that you have to do, so that the woman can have the less stress, to be able to breastfeed the child. The father can also help by supporting. Some children generally have a likeness to their fathers. If the father teaches the child to eat the fruits, the child will pick it up faster than the mother. It's just there. We have some children
kids like that.
Yes, so fathers can also help by being present during mealtime, eating with the family, and encouraging the children to eat the healthy foods and not just leaving it up to the mother. And also, there's a mistake that sometimes as parents or as guardians we all make by punishing children with food.
Yes.
We all do it. Mothers and fathers alike, we do it. And this is something that can actually make children, like for instance, you know your child doesn't like fruits, and then you use it as a punishment. Because I don't like fruits, when you do something bad, I make sure you eat a fruit. The child will always see it as a bad thing and not a good thing. And this is something that we do unconsciously, and it really affects children, and they stick with it. We also need to understand as fathers that the kind of eating habits our children pick up from childhood, they are most likely to grow with it. And so the bad eating habits we have as adults is because we probably had bad eating habits when we were children and they were not corrected. Fathers can play with their children. They can make eating of fruits and vegetables fun. They can support the mother. Sometimes it's not about, oh, leave him. If he won't eat it, leave him. No, come and make it fun and let the child know that, okay, mommy is saying it's good for you. It will make your teeth strong. It will give you strong bones. It will give you healthy skin and that. Make it fun.
Or like when you eat it, the child is also able to eat it.
Definitely.
Do you think that the kind of blood group that we have can play a role in the kind of food that we eat?
Yes. So over the years, there have been some research in that aspect, and then you would find some publications that are actually giving a direct relationship between your blood group and then the kind of foods you should eat or not. And there are some that also do not find a direct relationship. And one thing that we just need to note is that sometimes eating some foods might be favorable for you depending on the kind of blood group you have, because some blood groups predisposes you to some conditions. Research will tell you that there are certain blood groups that are more likely to be prone to certain conditions, like maybe heart diseases or diabetes or hypertension. And so definitely there are certain foods that they might advise you to avoid, because if you are somebody who is trying to protect yourself against diabetes, there are certain foods you should start avoiding. And so that is where the relationship is, but it is not 100% proven. But of course, prevention, they say, is better than to cure.
And so it means that you're not supposed to take some particular food regularly. So I'm just looking at, of course, we like our TZ with our bra here and there. So if every day I keep eating TZ everything, maybe I'm older, but if, of course, unfortunately, the child eats whatever is prepared, what effect does it have on the child, especially even when there is meat or when there is egg? I remember times that when I was growing, they told me that they said firstborns don't take chicken. Then later on, they said that, so apart from the chicken, don't take anything from chicken. That's the egg and etc. Then I had another myth that said that if you start giving a child meat,
they will steal.
They will steal.
Yes.
So maybe now those myths are not there, but maybe a family where maybe once a while they are unable to provide that for them, maybe except Christmas. What are some of the things that, of course, we should make sure that we have those things for them, but what can you tell parents who are denying their children some of these foods that it's going to have a toll on them? Because when they get anemic, I believe it can result. So just take us through that and let us understand what anemia is a bit, and let's look at the consequences on that.
So let me take the first part of your question. So like you said, these are just myths that people used to have, to say that if you eat this particular food group, then you would start stealing, or firstborns are not supposed to eat this. Even in some communities, women don't eat meat. They only give them the neck and then the back,
the wings.
Where the bony part is. And for whatever reasons they have. And these are just misconceptions. They are just things that people came up with and they have stuck in society. But over the years, we've been able to prove that this is not actually true. And then so there's a lot of work that has been going on to try and demystify these misconceptions, so that communities and then parents start allowing their children to eat some of these foods because of the health benefits that these foods have to children and to adults as well. For instance, eggs contain a lot of protein. They contain folate, which is also very important for development in childhood and subsequently in adulthood. Why would you deny your child an egg unless you genuinely do not have it? But if you have it, why would you deny your child on the basis that he or she will steal? I don't think there's a direct correlation.
I think it was because of poverty that made us
and
have those
our
misconceptions.
grandfathers brought up all these things just not make us feel bad because they couldn't afford it for us. But just saying that all these are healthy foods, and like we said earlier, it's not just about providing these foods, but there are alternatives. For instance, protein is very good, but if you don't have the means to provide meat in food, you can do with the protein that is more affordable to you. For instance, if you can provide egg and not meat, it's also a good sort of protein. Even in some of the foods we eat, we have good sources of protein. Our dawa I mentioned like this. It's a very good source of protein. Soya bean is a good source of protein. And when you go to some communities, they process soya bean into flour, and you can use it to prepare stew like agushi.
Okay.
And it's just like agushi stew.
Wow.
So you can add your green leafy vegetables to make it palava sauce, so you can eat it like that. You can add it to soup. They make the soya bean kebab out of, and then you can use it as meat chunks in soup. And this gives you the protein content. And these are things that can be produced locally. The women use the sour water they use to produce the porridge, cocoa. They use that to be able to curd the soya bean to form. Yes.
Wow.
When you go to the community, that is how they easily do it.
On that.
Yes. So there are a lot of things that are locally available. And if you have those, you can add it in soup. Wagashi, you can put it in soup. And this is something that contains a lot of waste, a dairy product. And you can put it in soup, you can put it in stew. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the traditional meat, the traditional fish, the traditional egg. If you're talking about fish, when you go to the community, we have a lot of these dry fish, local fish, even amani that you can pound and put in soup. It still gives you what you need from the fish.
But pound, unless you see now, before they bring a very size 30, and it's just about these fish they are pounding inside.
And that is why we are giving the options to add all these things. I think the idea that we think that when we're saying protein, it just has to be physical meat. Or the protein from soya bean or the plant sources give you the same amount of protein or almost the same as you get from the meat. So if you don't have animal source of protein and you have plant source of protein, that is equally good. And it's just about us knowing that we have these available to us, knowing that the food around us, we can get these nutrients from them. And so we know that we can actually use them and get the good nutrition that we want. I mean, talking about anemia, this is the condition where we do not have enough blood because of the kind of food that we eat. And some can be as a result of certain medical conditions. For instance, you can be sick, and then the kind of sickness you have can result in breakdown of some of your red blood cells. And this can cause for your blood level to go down.
So in children, it becomes very serious?
Yeah, it can become very serious in children, in pregnant women as well. It's something that a lot of women, pregnant women, present with it. Sometimes when you go to the communities, you can see a pregnant woman will come and then they have to detain her because they check her HB and it's like 6. Oh, yes, which is very, very low. This is somebody who could have just left the health facility and could be walking and would just collapse anywhere. And they have to detain her and then give her the attention. And that is just because in pregnancy, she's not eating. And once you're not eating well, the child will be taking the nutrients from the maternal stores. So the child will be draining from you to keep himself going or herself going. And these are the realities that we have. And in the communities, our pregnant women do not get enough to eat. And so they end up being malnourished during pregnancy. They give birth to malnourished children. They grow up to become malnourished adults. And the cycle continues.
Let's look at some of the diseases that comes up as a reason of malnutrition. I remember in school we learned so much about kwashiorkor. I hardly hear about that these days, but I think a few years, about 2-3 years ago, I heard few ones from the rural communities. Is this one of the sicknesses that comes out as a result of malnutrition? Yeah, it's one of the nutrient deficiencies that we have. We have kwashiorkor. We even have various forms. So we have marasmus and marasmus kwashiorkor. And then this is as a result of certain nutrient deficiencies. We even have other nutrient deficiencies like rickets, where you see children who have the leg, they have, some just call it bow leg or something because they have lack of calcium in their body. We have even lack of iodine also presents other deficiencies. Sometimes the teeth and the bones, the forming of the teeth and the bones as a result of lack of calcium and vitamin D. Salts in your mouth, meaning you don't have enough vitamin C. So there are lots of nutrient deficiencies that we have, and mostly seen in children. Earlier I talked of stunting, where I was telling you that we have people who are too short for their age, and that is also a deficiency. We have children
who are even too small for their age.
Yeah.
We call that wasting. So you
And there are some who
Yes.
are too big for their age.
Yes.
Those are those who are very well malnourished, very well
yeah, I'm
nourished.
really happy you mentioned that, because we consciously do not talk of that when we
Yeah.
are talking about malnutrition
Yeah.
or nutrient deficiencies.
Yeah.
We always talk of the under, but then there is overnutrition as well. And let me just state
Yeah, let's look at that.
Yes, let me just state that when I was talking about how our nutrition affects our adults, I talked about the undernutrition. But then even the overnutrition also affects our adulthood. There's the likelihood that a child who is overweight or obese will grow up to become an overweight or obese adult. Yes, and sometimes when you have children at that level, there are those that are more prone to certain chronic diseases in adulthood, like hypertension, like diabetes, and then these heart diseases as well. So when we are looking, I'm very glad you brought that up, because when we are looking at nutrition, it's not
We
just
don't-
about under, but over as well. But most of the time, we don't focus on the over, because we believe that once
You're
it's
eating well,
it's
you're
enough,
nice.
it's more than enough, so it's good. But
Yeah.
that can also be detrimental to the health of the child and also the adult.
And sometimes we think that people like me are malnourished.
Oh, no.
So how can we tell some people sitting here watching us and watching us at home that people who are slim are not malnourished? Somebody can even be fat or plumpy and malnourished. Yes, so explain that.
Yes, so like you said, someone can actually be big and malnourished. Because when we talk about malnutrition, it's not just about undernutrition, but it can be overnutrition.
Okay.
And somebody can actually be slim and the person will be healthy. Because,
like me.
yes, there are a lot of factors that also play into people's appearances. There's genetics. And so for some people, it can be because of genetics, they have that body structure or body stature. No matter the amount of food or nutrients you eat, you wouldn't go big to a particular point. We have people that are naturally like that.
Yeah.
And there are some people they may not even eat much, but you find them going big all the time.
Some will eat and we don't grow.
Yeah, so genetics play a role. But to be able to tell whether you are healthy, irrespective of your size or your age, the best thing is to visit the health facility and talk to a registered nutritionist or a dietitian.
Okay.
They will do some assessment for you. They will check your body mass index, and then that will be able to determine. They will take your weight and your height, and then they will cross-reference it to be able to tell whether you fall within the. So per every age, we have a range within where your body mass index should fall. That will determine whether you are healthy, you are underweight, or you are overweight. And so when you go, they will take your height, they will take your weight, they will ask you some other questions. They will do all this analysis and be able to tell you, okay, your BMI is this. This is within the range, or you are underweight. Then they will advise you based on that. Okay, we realize that you are just hitting the overweight range. So this is what you need to do to make sure that you don't
like this and overweight. I'm just thinking.
No, it's very possible. So we have some people who have very dense bones. You will see someone looking very skinny and you will feel, oh, I'm heavier than this person. Then the person stands on the scale and it's like the person is heavier than you. And yet you have a big body. We have that also there.
Oh, okay.
So it's very, very deceitful if you use physical appearance to determine how healthy someone is or not. Yeah.
So I want us to delve more into the fact that, let's look at teenagers. What are some of the foods, because at that point maybe they are of age and they can make some decisions for themselves. What are some of the food that they can look out for and then eat?
Yeah. Teenagers should basically look out for more fruits and vegetables in their diets, and healthy grains and cereals, and cut back as much as possible, if not avoid refined foods. So oftentimes at that age, it's like there's a likeness for a lot of sweet foods. There's a likeness for a lot of refined foods, and these are done with processed flours and processed foods, processed sugars, which are not so healthy. And so at that age, I think we just need to conscientize the teenager or the young adolescent to start going out for healthy options. And I've seen that Ghana Health Service has started a program called the Smart Nutrition, where they are trying to have adolescents at that age to start consciously eating healthy and being sort of like a role model to their peers. And they started this in some schools in Northern region.
Okay.
And I think it's a very good thing if
Okay.
we start at that level and in schools, and then it goes down to the home and to the communities. There's a trickle-down effect. If at that age, young people, because at that age, you can't really control the young person. And so if at that age, they are sensitized enough to understand the impact of their nutrition at that level to their life cycle, even in future, they will start making the right choices as much as possible. If it's break time and you are going to buy food, try to include a fruit or a vegetable. And little drops of water make a mighty ocean.
Okay, it's getting so interesting and amazing here. Let's go for a break. We'll be right back.
Savannah International Academy is an international school located in Tamale, Ghana. We award the Cambridge IGCSE and A-level certificate. Running parallel is SIA4, our curriculum enrichment program. SIA, nurturing the next generation of African leaders. SIA, thinking global, acting local. Give your child a holistic education at SIA. Contact us now. Savannah.
Welcome back from the break. We are still looking at nutrition in children. How we can make sure that our children and our teenagers are eating well and eating healthy enough. Now let's look at how we can manage our income and our resources in eating well.
Yeah, this is a very good one. Most of the time people say it is not cheap to eat healthy. And earlier on when I was talking, I was saying that we need to take advantage of foods that are in season or foods that are locally available to us. One of the ways in which we can actually try to eat healthy within a budget is to do bulk shopping. Buy our food in bulk and store. Even in your usual shopping, you realize that when you purchase in bulk, you actually save or you do not spend so much. Yes, so we can buy in bulk and cook in bulk and store if you have the means. For instance, if you have a freezer, you can cook in bulk and portion them. It even makes it easy for you to eat healthy because no matter the time you get home,
you have something to eat.
Available to eat and you can easily heal. And like I said, just make advantage of foods that are in season. If I want to make sure that I include a lot of fruits in my diet, I would definitely go for foods that are in season. So right now, if watermelons are in season, I'll eat more watermelons. The next season, mangoes, if tangerines are in season, mangoes are in season, I'll eat more of those. So all year round, at any point, you'll find me eating a fruit. And the same for vegetables. And this is one of the ways that we can actually eat within a budget, eat healthy within a budget. And the same goes, we plan our meals. You know that, okay, this week we want to eat this and that, and you plan and you prepare for that. And that is actually one of the ways that will really help.
Let's look at what stakeholders can do to ensure that children are eating healthy in our homes.
One of the main things that stakeholders can do is to help with the influx of non-healthy foods on the market. Earlier you mentioned how FDA said they are, and that is a reality that we are facing. When you go to the supermarket, more than 50% of foods you find there are processed. When you even with the fruits and the vegetables that are coming in the market these days, a lot of them you buy them after a few days they are getting bad because of the amount of chemicals. So we just need to advocate for more organic production of food and also to put the regulatory bodies on their feet to put in more efforts to ensure that quality foods are being put on the market for us. Food safety is one of the important things, and not just the foods on the market, but even for the foods that are being sold. Yes, because food safety is very important.
Yesterday I saw some tomatoes, and when I just looked at it, I was like, this tomato, I don't think it's right. You just put fertilizer on it, and it became red and yellow. Because as soon as you go home and you want to prepare stew, you just open the tomato, cut it, and it's full. And I'm just wondering.
And sometimes even there was a time where we had issues of the authorities going into the markets and then confiscating adulterated food
Yeah.
products. So you even go and then you save and you go to buy a food product and you go home and realize that it's not even quality because someone has adulterated it. And so we need to put in all this. And one of the other things that we need to really pay attention to is adverts on TV. We seem to have a lot of adverts
Yeah.
of unhealthy foods versus healthy foods. How many times do we see adverts of fruits? Or I know Ghana Health Service has been doing a lot with this Good Life
Yeah.
thing and all those others, but the others outweigh it. And you know, young people, children, they get excited by what they see. So they see a lot of these exciting and fun adverts
Yeah.
of these foods. And then you go to the shop with your child and say, Mommy, I want this.
Because
And
of
are
what they
crying.
have
Yes.
seen. Yeah.
And even the few adverts that are there of the healthy ones, they are, excuse me, say, not too exciting and fun for
Yes.
the child. So they are not even attracted
So
to
I
that.
think the creativity industry has to do something more
Exactly.
if you really want to
Yes.
it well.
And parents as well, we need to take that responsibility upon ourselves to know that we are growing a family of healthy people. And then, like I said, it's a cycle, so it's a chain. It's continuous. You may not be there tomorrow, but
Yeah.
then you need your family who is there tomorrow to be healthy. And so we need to prioritize our nutrition as a family, and then as parents to prioritize the nutrition for our children, to give them education as little as possible, and to make sure that we provide healthy options for them to choose from. Some don't even have the luxury to choose. I mean, they have to eat
Yeah,
what is there.
you eat whatever you've
And we
had.
have to give them that option to be able to choose, and also give them that education for them to know that, okay, this is good, this will help me, so I should eat this.
Okay.
And with time, they will pick it up.
Give us your final words.
So often we think of nutrition as just eating because we feel like we need energy to go on with our day's work.
Yeah.
And so it's like I just need to eat food
Oh.
and just
We are all a
do
victim
my
of that.
yeah we are
You
all
are,
a
you are
victim.
you're going to work
But
and you are
nutrition
tired and
it's
just want to
beyond
eat
that.
something. Yeah.
It's beyond that. So we say that the food that we eat is the fuel for the body, and the body is like a vehicle. So you have a car and you buy a car, you buy fuel all the time,
Yeah,
right?
you repair it
you
as
take it
well.
for maintenance. Even if the car is not broken down, you have to take it for routine maintenance. You wash your car, you clean the inside of the, and that is how the body is. And so you need to be conscious of the kind of food you put in your body. They say garbage in, garbage out. If you put good food into your body, it will make you healthy. If you put bad food and bad nutrients into your body, it will definitely contribute to you not being so healthy. So for me, I would just encourage that when we look talking about nutrition, we should pay attention to it. We should look at the kind of food that we eat, not just in terms of the quantity, but also the quality. We can be eating a lot of food, and then it is not
quality.
giving us the nutrients that we need for our bodies. We need to know ourselves, the kind of activities that we have, the things we do, and we should not leave out physical activity. We need a little bit of physical activity or exercise.
Yeah.
It could just be a walk 3 times a week. It doesn't have to be going to the gym to spend an hour or 2 hours. It could just be taking a walk or skipping in your compound or just doing a little bit of stretch here and there. We need to drink as much water as possible, and we also need rest. Rest is very key. We can eat well, we can drink water, we can exercise, but if we're not resting, then we are taking out a very key component for our bodies to be healthy.
And of course, our bodies need to be healthy. Now, finally, maybe in just few sentences, let's go back to the fathers. What can they do? Should they give out more money to buy food for their kids? Or, yes, I'm so much on them because in Africa or in our setting, we don't really have them
Yeah,
putting
the male
so much.
involvement
Yes.
is
So
low.
just in wrapping up, just highlight on that.
Yes. If fathers can provide more resources, they should. There are realities where some do not genuinely have, but they can be part of the process. They can also take nutrition seriously by learning about it, because it's only when you have the information that you can also educate your child and support your wife to educate your children and empower your children. We should not leave our nutrition and the health of our children only to the mothers. The children are not for only the mother. It's
Yeah.
a shared responsibility of the father and the mother. And then the fathers need to know that our healthy children will grow up to be healthy and empowered adults. Who would be in the society to be whoever we pray that they will be, and take care of us and take care of the society. And so we need to contribute to them being there. If the child gets, say, a nutrient deficiency, that reduces their potential of growing, it is not the mother's fault. It is both your responsibility. And so fathers need to make a conscious effort to be part. It's not just about provision of money. The father might even have the information more than the mother. But because she doesn't have the information, you've given her the money, she will not be able to make the informed choice.
To know what and
so it's a collective effort. So it's not just about provision of resources, but the time for the family, and also support, engaging with the children, learning, teaching the children, also practicing. As a father, eat the fruits and the very healthy fruits, and let your child see you doing it happily and with joy. Let them see the fun in it, so that they will also learn from it.
So that they would also learn from it. We have been looking at nutrition in children. I have been speaking with Blessila Na Afo Kando. I hope I got that correct. She's a public health nutritionist and the youth advocacy and campaigns coordinator at NORSAC here in Tamale. I believe that this episode has been a very great episode for you, and you've learned so much. You should make sure that your children, and especially yourself, you are eating well, because if you are eating well, your children would also be able to eat well. I want to say a very big thank you to the Northern Community Eye Hospital. You can locate them on the Sanargu Road, 400 meters north of the stadium roundabout, on your road to the Ghana Education Office on your left. They work from Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., 10 a.m. to 12 noon on public holidays. You can also get in touch with Savannah International Academy for all your words. They do the Cambridge curriculum. So if you don't want the normal junior high school, senior high school education for your child, just get in touch with them at the Savannah International Academy. Visit their website at www.sia.edu.gh for more information on that. My name is Martha Anabila. I'll be back with thoughts from Martha Inspires. Today on Thoughts from Martha Inspires, we've looked at nutrition in pregnancy for 2 weeks, and we are looking at nutrition in children. And somebody might ask, why for 3 weeks you're looking at nutrition? It's a bother because we are not taking care of our children. We don't look after our pregnant women, and they don't eat well. They get to the hospitals and you have to give them blood. Our children are growing and they are not growing well. It's a bother. And we don't want to just concentrate on looking after our kids to go to school, wear the nice clothes without them looking healthy inside and outside. So please, our fathers, our mothers, teenagers, young people, let's stop spending all our money on the shawarmas, the pizzas, the banku and tilapias every day. Let's eat some of our local meals, the ayuyos, the bra, bees, gobe. It's gobe. It's tubani. These are foods that I believe that when we put extra efforts on them, we'll be able to stay healthy and live healthy. So please reflect on this episode and make sure that you look for a dietitian or a nutritionist. You can take your whole family there, talk to them, and of course they will give you nothing but the best in counseling. My name is Martha Anabila. It's always a pleasure to reach you with a reflection show. See you same time next week. Have a good night.